Good evening, and welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off or silence your phones at this meeting. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 and at 6 p.m. and midnight and are available for viewing on YouTube. I'll call this meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by silent meditation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, one of the best parts of the job is I get to do proclamations, and I believe we have 3 proclamations tonight, so I'll come on down. Oh, it's not on, okay. My mic's not on.
Which one?
Mine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. First up, Colonel, are you coming up here?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. First up,
You're so skinny.
thank you. All right, we're going to start with the proclamation for Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day. Whereas members of the United States Armed Forces began serving in an advisory role to the government of the Republic of South Vietnam in 1961, and whereas in 1965, United States Armed Forces ground combat units arrived in Vietnam, and whereas by the end of 1965, there were 80,000 United States troops in Vietnam, and by 1969, a peak of approximately 543,000 troops was reached, and whereas on January 27, 1973, the Treaty of Paris was signed, which required the release of all United States prisoners of war held in North Vietnam and the withdrawal of all United States armed forces from South Vietnam, and whereas more than 58,000 members of the United States Armed Forces lost their lives in Vietnam, and more than 300,000 members of the armed forces were wounded. And whereas the Vietnam War was an extremely divisive issue among the people of the United States, and was also a conflict that caused a generation of veterans to wait too long for the United States to publicly acknowledge and honor their efforts and services of such veterans. Now, therefore, I, Holly Pittman, Mayor of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim March 29, 2025 to be Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day.
Thanks, Holly. We're kind of like family too, because my oldest son and she are high school classmates. Thanks a lot for everyone for doing this. The National Vietnam Veterans Day is officially this coming Saturday, 29th of March. We've been doing this quite a long time. I would like for each of my Vietnam veterans to stand up at this time that are here. They really need to get your applause. They will probably attest that over the last few years, we certainly have received our share of welcome home. We as a Vietnam veteran era, those that went, those that served during the Vietnam era, when we came home, of course, you know that our welcome back wasn't very cool. Sorry. If you enjoy getting spit on, have to take your uniform off at the airport because you're afraid of getting accosted, being called baby killers. Yeah, it was pretty rough. But those days are gone, and we swore, as our generation came back, that we would never let another generation abandon our veterans ever again. And I think we've accomplished that. I've said that over the past few years. I'll not go on, but I do like to remind people that we've got 2 national cemeteries here in Leavenworth, one at the fort and one here in town. And it's tradition to always, if you visit a grave, to say their names. Once you quit saying someone's name, then they die again. So tonight, I'm going to read the names of the Leavenworth County veterans that were killed in Vietnam. Corporal Eddie Ray Derritt, PFC Joe Louis Emery, PFC Harry Ivan Fuqua, PFC Wesley Lee Gooch, Captain Patrick Harold, who happens to be, we recovered his body finally. His son was here during that time. It's what our local Vietnam Veterans of America chapter is named after, Captain Patrick Harold. Spec 5, Gary Dean Little. Spec 4, Raymond Pike. First Lieutenant Harold Kenneth Ring. Captain Terrence Fairchild Sage. Spec 4, Mervyn Slop. Captain Carol Wayne Spraggins. And Spec 4, Dennis R. Whisker. And we have a plaque out here outside the room that actually we donated and to commemorate their names. And again, as part of our memory and not let our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine, Coast Guard to be forgotten. Corporal David Younger was the first Leavenworth County resident killed in Iraq. It was the first Patriot Guard mission that I ever rode on. Another special reason for today is the National Medal of Honor Recognition Day. All the living able Medal of Honor recipients, and I hate it when people say winners. Usually have to try to correct people. They all gathered at Arlington today and went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So it's a special day. And part of our VFW post here in town, want to make also special recognition and remembrance of Colonel Roger Donlin, Medal of Honor recipient, the first recipient in the Vietnam War, Special Forces. And also Lieutenant Colonel Chuck Hegemeister. I'd like to recognize our local chapter president, Walt Slay, if you'll stand up, Walt, and also our state president, Roland Mayhew from Topeka. They are our leadership for the state of Kansas.
Thank you.
And Marines, but that's okay. And the last thing I'll say is that in commemoration for the Day of Recognition on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock at the local VFW post here on Cherokee, we'll be having a Read the Names event. We'd like to invite all of our city officials to come, 10 o'clock till 12, you get a free lunch. We're going to read the over 400 names of those Kansans that died in the Vietnam War. Usually it's done in Topeka, and this year we volunteered and we're going to do it here locally in Leavenworth.
Nice.
At the local VFW post 56, 516 Cherokee, 10 o'clock. Get there a little bit early so you got someplace to sit. We've got a full crowd tonight.
641 names.
641.
641 names. I stand corrected. I knew the Marines would keep me straight.
I'm not a Marine.
That's why I got my back to you. Anyway, thanks, lad. This has been 53 years since I got back from the war zone. It's been a lifetime. And I do thank the city of Leavenworth for recognizing us all these years. And as I each year try to remind people, let's not forget the generations that came after us, the Iraq War veterans, our Afghanistan veterans, Kosovo, all those what we call youngins now. All of us are getting old in the teeth. Let's make sure that their days are special and that they are not forgotten too. And give them the welcome home that we all received, finally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ralph.
All right, the next proclamation is Barbershop Harmony Month. Are they here? You guys want to come on up? We might have a little show, I hope. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Okay. You guys are here on your lucky night. All right. The proclamation reads, whereas the Society for the Preservation and Encouragement of Barbershop Quartet Singing in America, which is the SPEBSQSA, now known as the Barbershop Harmony Society, was founded in April 1938 and is celebrating its 87th anniversary. And whereas the Barbershop Harmony Society promotes singing and harmonious relations in the United States and in many countries throughout the world. And whereas the Cody Corliers of the Leavenworth chapter of the Barbershop Harmony Society are celebrating 55 years of barbershop harmony and community service in the Leavenworth area. And whereas the Cody Corliers work with the community to promote music education in the Leavenworth schools and sure do entertain the residents and the visitors of the first city of Kansas. Now, therefore, I, Holly Pittman, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim Barbershop Harmony Month. Woo! Whoa. Okay. Oh, we gotta get a photo.
This nice lady's gonna get one too.
Yeah, I'm gonna gotta do my job. Awesome. All right, tell them what I'm gonna do. I like the yellow. Are these new? Oh, I like it.
All right, so let's come around, we'll come around here. How about you? Go ahead. Yeah. We're all veterans.
You have to come over here and speak because they won't hear you at home.
We're all veterans.
Over there at the mic.
They won't hear you on channel 2. That's where my dad watches it.
Okay. We're all veterans, and I served in Vietnam quite a few years ago too. Got back in '72. Served in the artillery. That's why I stand on that side of the quartet, because this here doesn't work as good. But Tom, you want to make a couple comments?
Well, let's sing it too. Barbershop Harmony Month is in April, but this is March. So we would like to leave you with a little Irish blessing.
All right. All right.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may he hold you in his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand. Hold you in the palm of his hand.
Woo! Any blood warriors will be performing?
May 30th, we will be holding the Cody Corliers annual show at the Heritage Center. We would love for you all to come and support.
Newspaper article.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo, and here's your
Thank you, guys.
proclamation. Thank you so much, guys. Good job. All right, the next proclamation is for Fair Housing Month. Whereas the Congress of the United States passed the Civil Rights Act of 1968, of which Title VIII declared that the law of the land would now guarantee the rights of equal housing opportunity, and whereas the City of Leavenworth is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and today many realty companies and associations support fair housing laws, and whereas the fair housing groups and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development have, over the years, received thousands of complaints of alleged illegal housing discrimination and found too many that have proved upon investigation to be violations of the fair housing laws, and whereas equal housing opportunity is a condition of life in the City of Leavenworth that can and should be achieved. Now, therefore, I, Holly Pittman, Mayor of the City of Leavenworth, Kansas, hereby proclaim April 2025 to be Fair Housing Month, celebrating 57 years of fair housing. Thank you for doing that. It's not on Facebook, it didn't happen.
That's right. I'll make it quick. I do want to say thank you for all the support that you give to the Housing Authority and then also just housing in general. Forgive me for my attire. I'm in the middle of basketball practice. I'm going back as soon as we're done.
Hey, go Pioneers.
Pioneer Palace.
That's right. So, but we do thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start with old business. Consideration of previous meeting minutes. Minutes from the March 11, 2025 regular meeting and the March 18th, 2025 special meeting. I just need a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the minutes from March 11th, 2025 regular meeting on March
Second.
18th, 2025 special meeting.
Motion made in second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hingela.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, new business. We'll start off with public comment. Do we have anybody? Silly question. All right, we'll start with public comment. And these are items that are not listed on the agenda or receipt of petitions. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, and no action will be taken by the commission on public comment items. In the interest of time, we do ask that groups wishing to speak limit the public comment to one presenter. This is an opportunity for the City Commission to hear the thoughts of the public prior to conducting official city business. The Mayor, City Commission, and the City staff have been asked not to respond to those giving public comment. The Mayor may direct staff to follow up with specific individuals after the meeting. When speaking, if you would please state your name and your address. A sign-up sheet will be provided in the Commission chamber for anyone wishing to speak. I believe we've already have someone signed up. Who's first?
Jimbo Gillerist.
All right, Jimbo.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, friends, fellow human beings. My name is Jimbo Gilchrist. I'm a former active duty infantry captain and leader of troops in the United States Army. I currently live in Kansas City, and I'm here to state my opposition to an ICE detention facility in Leavenworth and to urge the city to pursue legal action toward Core Civic when they trespass the law. American refrain, heard so often and so commonly recited as to be tritely disregarded as mundane and insignificant, is the land of the free and the home of the brave. And briefly, I want to focus our attention on this phrase while I speak on the three interrelated values of freedom, courage, and love. For I claim you cannot support one of these values without supporting all three, and that supporting the incarceration of migrants, regardless of document status, is the rejection of freedom, courage, and love. Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, the Buddha, and Krishna, 5 great spiritual teachers of 5 enduring religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism, all 5 preached love of man manifest in the courage of allowing freedom. All 5 made explicit the moral obligation to welcome the migrant, the wayfarer, the sojourner in our midst. They preached the sacred duty of hospitality. A necessary component of this sacred duty and this love is to presuppose the individual before us, the person we encounter, is a person of goodwill, a person with no intent to harm us. This presupposition requires a deliberate vulnerability on our part, a conscious deciding to be vulnerable, to be unguarded. And this presupposition of love, therefore, requires the courage to allow that person to be in our presence, to be themselves as they are. Of love, St. Paul says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. This love is inherently dangerous. It is so risky that no coward is capable of love. To be loving, we must be the land of the free, and to be the land of the free, we must be the home of the brave. A brave person welcomes their neighbor, even when that neighbor is an undocumented Samaritan. A brave person does not lock someone in a cage or deport them on the mere presumption that they might cause harm. The brave person presumes goodwill, especially when that presumption makes the brave person vulnerable. For the brave person sees strength in compassion and love. The brave person is never fooled into seeing these as weaknesses.
I'll give you a few more seconds.
Okay, I got a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Likewise, a brave community, a brave society, a brave nation is a welcoming nation, an inviting nation, a nation that turns to the world's poor, tired, huddled masses with open arms. And like Christ says, come, all you who are weary, I will give you rest. Each of you have a decision to make. Courage or cowardice, freedom or cages, love or callousness. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Marcia Levering.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
welcome.
evening.
I'm nervous. Bear with me. My name is Marcia Levering, and I worked at the Core Civic Leavenworth facility for 10 months as a corrections officer until 2021. I currently reside in Lincoln, Nebraska, which is where I'm from. I moved back home this past July. Core Civic has run the Leavenworth facility for the past 30 years. By this time, they should have had this place run so smoothly that it was down to a science, but it was the complete opposite. Murders, assaults, poor living conditions, and some units had almost all of their, or half of their cell doors compromised. During hiring, we were told we'd work 3 days of 12-hour shifts, and that never happened. It was halfway through our 6-week training that we started to hear whispers about required mandates. On 2 occasions, I worked in an outer building called the Q building with just one other officer, when there should have been 7 of us on that staff in that building. The first time, I was still in training, working with one female officer, Ramos Rivera. We were like chickens with our heads cut off, as Q building has 4 units of 62 men. That's 248 men and 1 1/2 officers in that outer building. I considered myself the half because I was still training. And with it being in the outer building, this takes much longer for staff to get to that building if there's an incident. This brings me to my assault, a rather attempted murder. As usual, we were understaffed. There were 2 officers in Q building when there should have been 7. I was in training as a new case counselor. So in between learning my new position in the other buildings, I was in and out of Q building, helping where I could. There was no real training for this position as case counselor. It was, hey, we need help with this task, but we don't have time to show you. Figure it out or go to Officer so-and-so and see if they can help you. The day of my assault was February 6, 2021. I was coming out of my office. Unit 4 accidentally buzzed open the wrong door, again because we were understaffed, allowing an inmate to come out throw boiling water in my face. Somehow I ended up on the floor immediately. He was kicking, stabbing me, and punching me. I was stabbed 4 times, once in my right ear, hence the paralysis, once in my right arm, and twice in my abdomen. I had 2 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and lost 24 inches of my colon and my spleen. My arm had a rod and 10 pins. I endured an emergency surgery where the doctors had to cut me down the middle from breastbone to below my belly button. This was done twice, as the missing spleen abscessed weeks later, and they had to cut me open again. I had a total of 16 surgeries over the past several years, including for various internal organs and follow-up complications and ER visits. My last surgery was this New Year's Eve for paralysis to the right side of my face. I had 6 surgeries to my right eye as it would not close on its own, and I'll still have visual impairment to the right eye. I had 1 year of facial retraining and 2 years of PT. I have an implant inserted into my lower right tooth and must wear a night guard and then a lower jaw guard, which you've seen just a moment ago. This is to keep it aligned. I am now permanently disabled and must walk with a cane as I still have vertigo, which I had tested at the VA in Topeka when work comp would no longer address it. I too am a veteran, and I was in Iraq in '03. And lastly, after what happened here, Core Civic should never be allowed to open again, not without serious protocols to prevent a repeat of their blatant negligence and utmost disregard for human safety, inmate and staff alike. Core Civic took shortcuts and still wants to take shortcuts today by using a backdoor process to reopen. And now the citizens of Leavenworth are unable to use their right to a mandated public hearing. Where is the justice? I ask this commission to please hear my story and take every possible action you can to stop this corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sarah.
Next up, we have Jake Sir. Sorry if I butchered that.
Pardon my chicken scratch out there.
Hi,
My own
Jake.
doing. Hello, and thank you to the City Commission for taking the time to listen to these testimonies. My name is Jake Sire. I currently live in Kansas City, Missouri, and I work as a public high school teacher in the area while also attending graduate school to study the history of United States and Latin America relations. I'm here to call for the City of Leavenworth to pursue legal action against Core Civic if and when they trespass city ordinance in pursuing an ICE contract for a detention facility. To be clear, I want to make the argument that this contemporary dehumanization of immigrants is built upon a false narrative, and I'd like to use my time today to place our current political moment in its proper context. I'm not only concerned for my many students and their families who are immigrants, but it has also become obvious to me, through hearing their stories and committing myself to these topics in my historical research, that immigration to the United States from south of our border is in large part due to our own government's meddling in those countries. Whether it's in the form of CIA-backed military coups or targeted economic sanctions, the United States has had much to do with the subversion of democracy and economic development throughout Latin America over the last century. This history cannot be ignored when deciding how current immigrants ought to be treated now that they've escaped the harsh environments our government took part in creating. We must also consider how U.S. corporations have deliberately recruited migrants as cheap labor who have little representation under United States law. While we have depended on the Chicano workforce ever since we invaded Mexico and took almost half their land in 1846, we have also dispensed with them in times of turmoil. The mass deportations and coerced repatriations in the 1930s are a stark reminder of the seemingly endless cycle of incentivizing migration, then demonizing those same migrants and forcing them to leave whenever politically beneficial. The rhetoric we've heard from our current president since 2015 directly resembles early 20th century politicians who vouched for mass deportations, claiming migrants are bringing diseases, committing crimes, taking jobs away from Americans. All this is nonsense, with no statistical evidence. Yet, it has become predictable language in our politics and has led to bad policies such as the possible detention facility in question today, which would be a complete waste of local resources and won't solve anything. In fact, it will most certainly hurt and cause more problems for the communities you all serve. Many here will provide personal testimonies on how the latest immigration policies or the actual operations of Core Civic have hurt them and their communities. I related to this issue the way I can as an educator with many immigrant students, and as a graduate student who studies these topics. I hope I've been able to provide a brief understanding of the history, which has led to our current moment, so you all can make the most knowledgeable decision. As citizens of the Kansas City area, we have come here today to perform our civic duty, and we ask all of you to please perform yours when it's time to take legal action against CoreCivic and their profit-making schemes that circumvent law and hurt the communities you all serve. Thank you all for your sincere
Next up is Doug Kinney.
My name is Doug Kinney. I live in Green Valley, Missouri, which is a ways, but I own a business in Lansing, Kansas, Main Street, Chrysler Dodge Jeep. I also am a pilot. I fly planes, and I use the airport here in Leavenworth. And there has been a bit of a problem. I've had customers come in that fly into the airport here to pick cars up when they buy them from us. But the problem is, as a pilot, for those who are flyers, you will know that you're always looking for how far can you go and when do you run out of fuel, because it's the most important factor you have other than what the wind is. The bottom line is there is not a self-pump credit card machine at the airport, which I do believe, this is a guess, 90+% of the airports around have those, any of them that are non-controlled, due to the fact it's convenient. Customers I just had a month ago basically said they would love to come back because they like the airport, they like the neighborhood, they like everything about it, and it's a great place to fly to. But it makes it difficult when you fly any distance, you're all of a sudden out of fuel, so you have to go to another airport, make another landing, and then buy your fuel there. So, or if there's somebody at the airport that'll pump it for you, like Dean, but at the end of, some days he's not there, so at the end of the day, it would be very convenient if we were to have that. So I would like to show support for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Kat Barrow.
Hi there, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hello, Mayor Pittman, City Commissioners, and Leavenworth staff. My name is Kat Barrow. I grew up in Kearney, Missouri, just across the river, and I currently live in Shawnee, Kansas. My husband, who is here today, he is from Leavenworth, and his family still lives here. I'm here today to state my opposition to an ICE detention center in Leavenworth and to urge this body of Leavenworth leaders to share a clear statement opposing CoreCivic and to take all possible legal action against CoreCivic once they trespass city law. We know CoreCivic is a private, profit-driven company with a horrible record of dangerous and dehumanizing conditions for people detained and staff members. For years, ICE has used incarceration to dehumanize and punish. For some, these detention centers are a death sentence. CoreCivic's irresponsible management and history of concealing issues, plus ICE's lack of local accountability, makes this an immeasurably harmful scenario. Let's not forget that deportation is a civil process, not a criminal one. Can you imagine if we took this same approach for other civil law violations, like unpaid parking tickets? Unfortunately, if private, profit-driven prisons are opened, they will be filled. An ICE detention center in Leavenworth is a direct threat to our immigrant neighbors in Kansas and Missouri, but also our entire Midwest region, including Nebraska and Iowa. The current administration is spinning up a fairy tale and casting undocumented immigrants as villains. Everyday Americans like myself and like many in this room today, we just want good jobs, the ability to afford our basic needs, and neighbors who care for one another. We know documented and undocumented immigrants are good and hardworking people who in most cases have lived here for years and are working hard to build their lives just like the rest of us. CoreCivic is attempting to open a detention center without accountability to the city of Leavenworth or impacted communities in the larger region, and this is shameful. Again, I'm here voicing my opposition to an ICE detention center in Leavenworth and to urge this body of leaders to share a clear statement opposing CoreCivic and to take all possible legal actions against CoreCivic once they trespass city law. We expect you to use every bit of your creativity, courage, and humanity to push back during every step of this process. Throughout history, we learn of regular people who were just doing their jobs while unimaginable abuses were carried out. We all have a role to play in creating a world that ensures safety, dignity, and justice for all. You all have a challenging but critical role to ensure our immigrant neighbors are treated with humanity. Thank you.
Next up is Rick Hammett.
I'm Rick. I live in Lansing. I've got lots of opinions on Core Civic, formerly the Corrections Corporation of America, though they'd like you to forget that name, and a lot of opinions on the finer points of ethnic cleansings. But I'm not here to give those comments because right now they don't matter. We've heard 4 statements so far tonight on Core Civic's proposal. Appeals to the love of our fellow man, to our history and our responsibility for it, and to the sheer danger of Core Civic's policies. But no one's comment matters right now because Core Civic has decided they don't. Not ours, not yours. Core Civic says that losing their right to operate a private prison here in Leavenworth, hanging on to and maintaining their real estate investment, and then opening a new detention center counts as continuity of business, letting them bypass the special use permit process. Come on now. There's some older folks and some cameras here, so I'm not going to give you my full opinion on that. I'll just say it's blatantly pretextual. Right, they're doing what they wanted to do anyway. Bypass the democratic process and open the facility faster so they can print money. I trust that that kind of challenge to the democratic process won't go unanswered. Not in Bleeding Kansas, not yet. The time now is to stand and be counted. There's no room left for equivocation or quibbling. When will Core Civic see you in court?
Ashley Hernandez.
Hello, welcome. Hi. Dear Mayor Pittman and City Commissioners, my name is Ashley Hernandez, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Office of Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation of the Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth to ask you to stop Core Civic from turning its Leavenworth facility into an ICE detention center. The Office of Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation believes in treating every person with dignity and respect. We work for justice and speak up when people are being harmed, especially immigrants, the poor, and others who are pushed to the margins. This proposal goes against everything we stand for and everything we believe you should stand for. We encourage you to consider the following as the conversation around the proposed ICE facility moves forward. Core Civic is a private prison company with a long and troubling history. Their goal is profit, not safety, not justice, and certainly not human dignity. Their past actions show a clear pattern of understaffed facilities, poor medical care, unsafe conditions, and mistreatment of people in their custody. The Leavenworth facility was once called an absolute hellhole by a federal judge. Why would we let them open their doors again, and this time to hold people who are even more vulnerable to their abuses? People in immigration detention are most often not criminals. Many have lived and worked in our Kansas communities for years. They deserve fair treatment and due process. Detention, especially by a company like Core Civic, is cruel and unnecessary. Most people in the immigration system can and do show up to court when given the chance. We don't need more cages. This plan would also hurt our city. Core Civic's facility would pull resources from local police, hospitals, and other already stretched thin services. And since it's a private company, it wouldn't have to follow the same transparency laws as public agencies. That means less oversight and more risk for abuse. Leavenworth has enough prisons, and it's time to imagine a better future for our community, one where we invest in people, not in locking them up. We can build a community that offers hope, healing, and opportunity. Core Civic has made it clear that they may move forward without full city approval, so I call on you to enforce city law without exception and take all necessary legal action should they proceed without proper authorization. I ask you to stand for people, say no to Core Civic, and say no to this ICE detention center. Thank you.
We have Sister Jean Ann. Hello, sister, welcome.
Hi, dear Mayor Pittman and members of the City Commission. Excuse me. My name is Sister Jean Ann Panisco, a Sister of Charity. But tonight I'm speaking on behalf as a member of the Board of AIR, which is the Advocates for Immigration Rights and Reconciliation. AIR stands opposed to the continued existence and expansion of ICE detention centers, which serves as tools for the inhumane detention of individuals seeking refuge, safety, and a better life in the United States. These centers are notorious, as you've already heard, for their poor living conditions, overcrowding, and the mistreatment of detainees, including the denial of basic human needs, each such as adequate food, medical care, or legal representation. Following the statement the Corps representatives offered about not doing the application, taking the application out for the special use permit, they say, as we look forward to continuing to serve our federal partners at our Midwest Regional Reception Center and expect the facility to be fully operational in the upcoming month. I urge you, please, pursue any and all legal action against Core City when they violate city law by operating as an ICE detention center without the required special use permit. Core Civic's operation of a for-profit immigration detention facility in our city is a direct contradiction of our values of fairness, transparency, and human treatment of all people. Unlike criminal defendants, immigrants in detention do not have a constitutional guarantee of legal representation, further compounding the injustice. Core Civic's for-profit model incentivizes the expansion and prolongation of detention, with a track record of cutting costs to maximize profits. They have historically undercut safety and welfare in its facilities. The lack of adequate medical care, the denial of access to legal counsel, and documented cases of abuse to people there and to their workers all underscore the unacceptable risk of allowing this facility to operate in our city. I wish to bring your attention that there's 1,567 people from across the region here oppose any negotiation between ICE and Core Civic to reopen. The overwhelming show of community opposition highlights the urgent need for this city commission to take decisive legal action now. Our local and regional community has made this opposition clear. In 2023, county officials voted unanimously against the proposal to convert the facility by holding an intergovernmental service agreement. Our community has shown the commitment to justice and dignity, and they undermine all of these values. Rather than being a city that supports unjust detention practices like Core City, Leavenworth has the opportunity to redefine its future. We can support initiatives that reflect our community's values and reject exploitation of vulnerable immigrants for profit. I urge the City Commission to stand firmly against them and take all legal action to ensure that Core City complies with city laws and does not operate as an ICE detention center. Our city must send a clear message that we prioritize dignity, safety, and the rights of all individuals in our community. We thank you for your commitment to justice.
Next up is Louis Clem.
He's ready.
Well, we're glad Louis Klemp, Leavenworth, Kansas, 1816 Pine Ridge Drive, and we started with Klemp Furniture Factory back in 1850s, or 1860s. It's interesting to listen to all this information. It's good to have come. I had about 4 things I want to talk about, but I only got 2 that I'll talk about, other than the fact that I enjoyed the Marines being here and that the Iwo Jima They didn't know about Iwo Jima, because that's where I was stationed back in the 60s, early 60s. But Vietnam, that was good. I flew up and down the coast of China, up and down North Korea, up and down Vladivostok. So I have great wisdom on worshiping the military. Military are great. They do a lot for the country, and they die for the country. Look at the sign out in front of the courthouse, who has died and who has served. So the main topic I was here for, which I've been involved with 3 or 4 times, and it's safety. I had a guy call me, and he said that you spent, and I said it couldn't have been this amount, $300,000 on a study that was going to be done. I said, I don't know how they could do that. Of course, you get a lot of free money. You get it from the governor, you get it from the feds and the state, and then we pay for it and give it to them so they can do these nice things that they do, which a lot of them are nice. But I was reading this one. The city held a regular meeting on September the 16th where they discussed residential speeds, soliciting bids, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it turned out it wasn't Leavenworth. I just happened to ride into it. A city in Oklahoma, Chigasha, Oklahoma. And they were doing a study. 2 other groups I had were doing studies. We don't need to do a study. We just need to enforce the good laws you have. You have good laws, not 60 miles an hour up 20th Street. You want to know why people are dying? You want to come up here on a Sunday night, Saturday night, and listen to the motorcycles going up and down 20th Street. Oh my God, they're having a ball. There were 12 guys in my high school class that had their own cars. None of the girls had. I feel bad about that. But it's a shame that we don't do these things. But I'm glad I came tonight to listen to all the youthful people with their dissertations and what they had to say about the problems that they see. And it's very good. Man, it's coming up on 80, what will I be, 87 in April. So it's been a great life. You don't understand Leavenworth. None of you do. One might. The rest of you haven't lived in Leavenworth since, Grandma would give me a $20 bill, and I'd go up the street and pay the water bill, the gas bill, the light bill, and the telephone bill, and I'd bring home about $7. So it was only about $13 with all the bills. So do something for the people, and let's get their taxes taken care of. Thank you.
All right, William Rogers.
William Rogers, 73, 73rd Yecker, KCK. Mayor, Commission, thank you for letting me speak every time. Tonight I brought you guys a few pieces of paper that this young lady will give you, and I ask that tonight you look at them, especially the police report. I'm going to talk about corporate greed in a minute, but I want to talk about that one police report. That inmate he hung for an hour and 10 minutes. He hung there. Officer walked by him 10 to 12 times. 10 to 12 times walked by him hanging there. Not one time did he look in that shower. There's a lot of protocols that go into this area where that young man or that gentleman was hanging. An hour and 10 minutes, that could have been your son, your brother, your dad. If you don't think so, well, then you're sadly mistaken. An hour and 10 minutes. When the officer found him, he waited 18 minutes. Corps Civic waited 18 minutes. 18 minutes before they called 911. How many of you would do CPR for 18 minutes before you decide that's what you're going to do? I've offered you that police report, and I have requested 2017 to 21 police reports from your city. This is them, to Corps Civic specifically. And let me tell you, this is just 20 and 21. Prior to that, they must not did police reports. My stabbing wasn't in there. My head being split open wasn't in there. Corps Civic hid these. Why? Because they didn't want you to know. What Corps Civic is doing to Leavenworth right now reminds me of what's going on, or what went on and is going on in Tennessee. They came into Tennessee, Trousdale, Turner. They promised them great things like they promised them here the money, right? The money sounds great. They talked about the jobs. 2023, that facility had 188% turnover rate. Nobody wants them jobs because they're shit. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's what they are. Nobody wants to work there. 188% turnover rate. It's supposed to be a security medium. It's now holding maximum inmates. Google it just a little bit for yourself. Entertain yourself for a night. But I want to talk about greed. And Core Civic in this 2017 audit was triple bunking. You can't triple bunk unless it's an emergency reason in a prison or a jail. So when the auditors came in, they had the inmates take the triple bunks down and store them in a warehouse and hide them. They hid them. In this report, it talks about they did it for profit. So they stuffed as many of those guys in a room as they could to up their profits. Also in there have a young lady that posted online yesterday there's a lot going on with Core Civic in Leavenworth. The Core Civic, she stayed till the very end. In fact, she stayed over and went to other places for Core Civic. 14 years she worked for them. They still owe her the bonus money that they promised her, $2,500. This is a single mother. So if they'll take it out of a single mother's pocket, you think they're worried about taking it out of your pocket? Thank you.
Next up is Esme Sung.
Hello, welcome. I timed it, so I think I'm right at 3 minutes. Okay. My name is Esme Zung. I live in the Kansas City metro area. I am the Communications Director at the American Civil Liberties Union of Kansas. The ACLU of Kansas is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting and advancing the civil rights and civil liberties of all Kansans. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Years ago, when I worked as our legal department's assistant, the Core Civic CCA Leavenworth facility was a federal penitentiary. It had been on our radar for some time as a site of concern around access to legal counsel, issues with legal mail, and First Amendment religious rights violations. In 2021, we were flooded with reports of serious human rights violations, poor living conditions, access to basics like showers and food, and medical negligence. There were accounts of rampant violence, some resulting in death, and incidents of sexual assault, some perpetrated by staff. Ultimately, the ACLU affiliates and federal public defenders' offices in Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, and Nebraska all signed on to a letter to the White House Domestic Policy Council outlining these reports and urging them to shut down the facility as scheduled permanently. If you Google White House Leavenworth letter, you can find that on the ACLU campus website. I also note that in 2017, a Department of Justice Inspector General report diagnosed significant issues of security in the facility 4 years before our letter. So it's clear that Core Civic ignored this report and allowed conditions to worsen for years, even under the federal oversight at that time. As one of the largest private prison companies in America, Core Civic insults all of us with its corporate doublespeak. They insult us by thinking we will forget the human costs of their facilities because they bring up jobs. Their PR person makes disingenuous media statements about partnership with you, the city of Leavenworth, when the company's actions speak much louder. And what their actions say is that Core Civic's decision makers consider the SUP process and this city disposable. It also considers disposable the people impacted by its mismanagement, past and future. That includes people who are misled about compensation and then forced to work in dangerous situations for 12-hour shifts, and those who will compromise their morals and witness or be subjected to traumatic events. That also includes people who will be detained unjustly in the hellscape that is this country's immigration rampage, and those who will be separated from their families and placed in harm's way, most of the time because they don't have paperwork. And that also includes you, the people on this commission. Core Civic considers all of us a means to an end for a profitable contract. Everyone who drove in tonight, some of whom are talking about the worst thing that ever happened to them, is here because they fear the repeatability of Core Civic's track record. They trust you to exercise your power and prevent more stories of harm. and as public servants, you are all tasked with making life better for the people of the first city of Kansas, which can be about more than another prison. I hope you will declare to CoreCivic that Leavenworth and your community are not disposable, and I hope that you will meet all of the many decision points to come with transparency, clear eyes, and the courage to do the right thing. Thank you.
Next up is Sherry Brune.
Hi, Mayor Pittman and the rest of the committee. I'll make it real quick. I don't usually do speeches or anything in front of public, but I feel like we need to get legal advice. Opposes CoreCivic to open. And that's basically all I want to say, is that you need to stop it. Thank you.
Corliss Jacobs.
Hello. My name is Corliss Jacobs. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, and I'm here representing a grassroots organization dedicated to justice and opportunity for all called Johnson County Move On. I'm a lifelong Kansan, and even though I don't live in Leavenworth, I live close, but what I believe is that what happens anywhere in Kansas affects all of us and affects our state in general. People have made such good points about CoreCivic. I'm going to skip over a lot because I had some of the same things. But I do want to say, at least in my understanding, the community of Leavenworth said they don't want this. And I'm hearing that tonight. So I want to congratulate people for seeing through the offers of CoreCivic to come back and take the facility over again. Basically, I think, and most people I know think that for-profit prisons are against our values. Corporations should not be profiting from caging people.
Amen.
Its profit is paid by you and all taxpayers. They are not selling legitimate merchandise or services. They are profiting from human misery and failures of our own society. The more prisoners, the more profit. The more you can pack them in, the more profit. And in this case, rounded up immigrants. I've heard it said, if you build it, ICE will fill it. There, as been stated, private prison corporations are not subject to sunshine laws, they are not subject to many of the protections and regulations that normal government, not-for-profit services need to abide by. We oppose, people I represent, oppose private prisons in general, and especially now, this idea as a detention for immigrants who in most cases have done nothing wrong other than to desperately seek a better life or escape violence. And I really appreciate the young man, I believe he was a teacher, who said our government has done so much to the countries that some of the immigrants are coming from. We need to look at that responsibility also. We seek a fair and humane approach to immigration policy. I know that's not what you're concerned with tonight, but I think we all know that. And private prisons are neither fair nor humane, and I'm pretty convinced you don't want that here in Leavenworth, and I plead with you to pull everything you can at your disposal to legally keep it. Thank you.
And our last last speaker is Judy Ansell.
Welcome.
Mayor and commissioners and city staff, thank you for hearing us. My name is Judith Ansell. I live in Argentine in Kansas City, Kansas. My neighborhood is filled with immigrants. I have immigrants in my family who come from Latin America. Everybody's scared of what's going on right now. The actions you take as commissioners don't just affect Leavenworth. It's going to affect us in Kansas City, Kansas. It's going to affect people in Missouri and for the states around. Because ICE wants to fill jails. And we have heard that the county jails around here are already full, and that's why they want to open up this prison. They will fill it. I represent an organization called the Cross-Border Network, and I'm going to put on my glasses so I can read this thing here. The Cross-Border Network is an organization that investigates how U.S. trade and foreign policy contribute to the uprooting of people from Latin America who become migrants. Most people don't know that so many of our immigrants leave their countries unwillingly because they can't stay. That the conditions that force them out are often results of U.S.-involved wars, including the war on drugs, U.S. and Canadian mining operations, which literally destroy water and soil on which people have to survive, the murderous gangs like MS-13 in Central America, started by deportees from the United States, and the corruption resulting from coups that overthrow governments that the U.S. supports. People don't leave their homes because they want a better life. They leave their homes because they can't have a decent life where they are. This proposed ICE jail is a result of the demonization of these immigrants and the slander against them by opportunist politicians who label them all as criminals and want to lock them up. The facts betray that logic. Most unauthorized border crossers have committed the misdemeanor of being here without authorization. It is not a crime. It is a civil violation, just like having a broken taillight. If someone is deported and then crosses the border again a second time without authorization, then under the 1996 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, called IIRIRA, that was passed under Clinton, by the way, they've committed the criminal offense of illegal reentry. Does that criminal offense, often committed to rejoin family from which they were deported, make someone the equivalent of a drug trafficker or murderer, as the Trump administration asserts? Does it warrant them being locked up in an unaccountable private prison in Leavenworth, Kansas? In fact, the vast majority of undocumented people have either crossed the border without authorization only one time or overstayed a visa, and a majority have been here for over 10 years. Yet ICE is not just rounding up real criminals, it's rounding up workers, fathers, mothers, and just about anybody they want to target. Even U.S. citizens, and as you can read in the article I'm going to give you, Germans on tourist visas, who they then send to solitary confinement for days in a core civic-owned prison in California. That article is from this month. So if you permit this human rights violation of a prison to exist in your community, you will be complicit too in those kinds of violations. And I'd like to give you a couple of articles about Core Civic.
Right here, so
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's our last minute. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. Thank you for your advocacy. It's nice to see a full house of people that are speaking out and that are hearing that they care, so thank you. We'll begin with bids, contracts, and agreements. We'll consider approval of KDOT agreement for the downtown ADA intersection ramp project.
Brian here.
Is Brian here? I haven't seen him.
I saw him earlier.
There he is.
He was hiding in the back.
Oh, he's over there.
He's coming.
There he is.
He's making room for the guests.
You're up?
Yes, you're up.
Hello, Brian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. This evening, we are asking for approval of the agreement with KDOT for the downtown ADA intersection.
Hold
on.
Hang on, Brian, let's let people leave.
There's a lot of noise. Wait a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Folks, if you're exiting, could you please exit a little more quickly? We've got some business to attend to. We appreciate it.
All right, go ahead, Brian.
As stated, this is for a KDOT funded ADA intersection ramp program. The city previously submitted our downtown program to KDOT for fiscal year 2026. The city was notified that the project was awarded $629,750 in funding. While the city will be paying for design, construction costs are covered at 100%. We were notified last Friday that KDOT was removing the preliminary engineering from the participating cost and will be sending us a new contract. As we are not planning on using the funding to cover the design costs, this change will not impact the city. KDOT had hoped to have the updated agreement to us today, but that did not occur. Staff recommends the City Commission authorize the mayor to sign the KDOT agreement number 117-25 for the ADA downtown ramp improvement project once the updated agreement is received. Be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions from the commission?
No, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think we've seen this a couple times, so. All right, I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to sign the KDOT agreement number 11725 for the ADA downtown intersection ramp project.
Second.
All right. It's motions and made and seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, consider award a bid for Riverfront Community Center elevator modernization project. Oh, you're over there.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Excited to talk about elevators now.
Yes.
Never thought those words would come out of my mouth. So, we're tonight. It's to review bids that we received for modernization of the elevator at the community center. Community center was reconstructed and opened in 1988. This is the original elevator with a lot of the original mechanical parts that came along with it that was part of that renovation when it opened as a community center in 1988. Like I said, a lot of the mechanical equipment that you don't see, the pumps, the wiring, the controller, a lot of the electronics are original, have become very difficult to acquire, very expensive. In some cases, especially with the controller, unable to acquire it should it go out. So with that, we've put together a bid package for modernization. That's the term they use in the elevator business, modernization of the elevator. It'll bring it up to date to meet all of the current Kansas 2022 codes. You'll see digitalization instead of the old buttons and lights that you see in there now. But a lot of what will occur is behind the scenes with the equipment in the mechanical rooms, the hydraulic pumps and things like that. So a bid package was put together. We published it at local media sites. We also published it on our new online bid platform that the city's now using called Bonfire, which was very successful, where the city's now accepting online bidding as well. We had a pre-bid meeting on Wednesday, March 12th with a very good turnout. And then bids were opened and reviewed on Wednesday, March 19th. We received two bids, one from Otis Elevator out of Kansas City, Kansas in the amount of $190,700. and the other from TK Elevator Corporation out of Lenexa, Kansas, in the amount of $168,720. In reviewing of the proposals, staff is recommending the low bid from TK Elevator Corporation in the amount not to exceed $168,720. There is $183,789.20 allocated in the 2025 CIP for this project.
Okay.
With that, I'll open up with any questions I can answer.
Well, I can vouch for the fact that we really need it. I was down there on the second mezzanine, held the door open, waiting for a lady to come down and get on the elevator, who was having a hard time walking. And by the time she got down there, then the doors wouldn't close. And we ended up carefully getting ourselves up the stairs because we couldn't get the elevator doors to close. And I got up to the front desk and there was no sign or anything on it. And it's like, well, yeah, we've had some problems with the elevators. Well, we need, good to know that.
And staff's been trying to work along with patrons as they're in there. When incidents like that happen, there's no safety involved with that other than it won't close and it gets stuck on
we
the
didn't
floor.
know that. It's like I'm not getting on an elevator that the door doesn't.
Right.
You never know where you're going to end up.
What if Nancy wasn't there? How can someone call for help down there?
Have to scoot back in there and talk to Patrick or somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't understand
I
your
was
question.
saying,
She wanted to know how they call for help.
Like
How
if
somebody can call for help.
someone was stuck down there.
Well, if they're
Well, there's
stuck
an
on the
emergency
elevator.
phone in the elevator, if that's what you're.
Oh, is there?
referring to.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
Oh, we could have hit the button then.
Yeah. The issue is it's when, with the electric eye that, when it detects you going across there, if it's getting interrupted for too long right now, then it'll hold the door and keep it in the open position.
Yeah.
So not actually stuck on the elevator, but.
No, it was, no.
But the elevator.
At least it was open instead of closed,
Correct.
yeah, because I have been stuck on an elevator before and it's not fun.
Steve, do you know any main differences that stood out between Otis and TK? I mean, that's a pretty good little difference there in bids. Anything noticeable? I mean,
Not really. In reviewing both proposals, they both covered all of the different items. I've talked with the gentleman from TK that issued the proposal. Both companies are very reputable. TK stands for, it used to be called ThyssenKrupp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they've been around for a century. They actually started in the escalator business in Germany and have been here for a long time. So it's very reputable. It's a pretty competitive industry, the elevator industry. So we had 4 companies come to the mandatory pre-bid meeting, and they also brought a bunch of building contractors with them as well to look at the facility while they were there.
Gotcha.
So I kind of thought we'd get 4 competitive quotes. We ended up getting 2. But yeah, I feel comfortable.
Okay.
Nothing major though, Commissioner.
No, that's cool. All right, I don't have any other questions.
So, hearing the noise from the hallway. No more questions for me either.
Any further questions? No. That I'll take a motion.
I move that we accept the low bid from TK Elevator Corporation to conduct the modernization of the elevator to the front community center in an amount not to exceed $168,720.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is consider approval of a new truck for the housing authority. Did you already go to basketball practice?
No, the kids are gonna be on their own. I'm here to review and approve the purchase of a new truck for the Leavenworth Housing Authority. We've been using the, I don't know what you guys even call it, the Enterprise truck for the last year and a half. The one I had before that, we had over 20 years. I expect this one to last over 20 years. So even though it's a steep price, it'll be a whole new people. None of us will be here when you need another one.
And what do you mostly use this for?
Inspections. For my half, for the Section 8 part, I go out and do inspections all the way through the county, wherever the houses are. So I use that for the inspections. That's why we do a 4-wheel, is because we have it during the winter.
Yeah.
And the old one I had was a two-wheeler, and I actually just used my car, whenever it snowed. So
so you get
I'm glad that we're getting a four-wheel, and I can do that.
And this is a cost-saving measure for the city. We're trying to reduce our overall cost to that enterprise fleet. And so the staff turned in that truck, their other truck already, and we've sold it at peak, depreciative value. And then we're gonna recommending to buy this one outright, as a way of actually a cost savings measure for the city, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Cool.
We do have the funds for it.
Okay.
No questions here?
So it doesn't need any other special equipment other than just
No.
four-wheel drive?
And we did go out for 3 bids, and, I was hoping the local one would have got it.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
That's a big difference, so.
Yeah, it is.
That's why we're recommending that we go with the low bid instead of the local bid. I'm a big local person, because, we all have friends, family that work in these places, so, we try to do it, but that's just too big of a difference.
Yeah.
Well, it helps with sales tax. Yeah, that's a bummer. I was bummed to see that. Any questions for?
Nope.
All right.
I move approval of the purchase of the truck for the Housing Authority in the amount not to exceed $53,190 from Victory Ford.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and second. We'll begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to give Jermaine a ride in that truck.
Yeah.
Hey, don't run the kids too tough on them drills.
Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. Commissioner Martin?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the claims for March 7th, 2025 through March 20th, 2025 in the amount of $2,028,446.19. Net amount for payroll number 5, effective March 7th, 2025 in the amount of $425,590.46. No police and fire pension.
Second.
All right. Motion made. Second, we'll begin voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 Do you want to go ahead and go into executive session? All right, so this time I'm gonna make a motion that, oh wait, go ahead.
So we due to the size of the crowd in the light court, we're recommending that we hold that in the city manager's office.
Oh, okay, not right
Just
outside.
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
That's all you need?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
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 All right, well, then I'll make a motion to move the city commission recess and executive session for 10 minutes for the purpose of discussing a zoning matter in consultation with the attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2. The city commission, the city manager, and the city attorney will be present. The open meeting will resume in the city commission chambers at 7:27 p.m.
Second.
All right. There's motion, been seconded, we'll be voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, the city commission has returned from our special meeting and no action was taken. At this time, I'll turn it over to our attorney.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor and members of the City Commission, what you have before you tonight is resolution number B-2394. This is a resolution affirming the city's rights and obligations to protect the public health, safety, and welfare through its zoning powers. And this is a formal statement from the City Commission of its position that the reopening of the core civic facility is no longer a legal non-conforming use or a special use due to its closure and abandonment of the facility and operations for over 36 months. And that any such reopening does require the special use permit and that does require the issuance of a special use permit under the city's development regulations, and that core civic must go through the proper processes required under Kansas and municipal law. That is all the resolution states. Tonight is a formal statement by the commission. Staff has shared this position, of course, before with core civic, and this is a formal statement by the city commission adopting that requirement of city staff and the requirements that this go through and obtain a special use permit.
Okay. Does the commission have any questions?
No.
All right, so I just need a motion to approve the resolution number B-2394.
I move that we approve resolution number B-2394.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. We'll start voting with Commissioner Hengela.
Aye.
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 All right. At this time, so motion passes. At this time, do you have anything else for us, Scott?
Yeah, real quick, I was, reached out, to by our county administrator, Mark Lawfrey, to see if there was any interest in having a joint county commission, city commission meeting, in the next, I don't know, couple months or whatever. He didn't give me a time frame. I told him I would broach the option with you guys and see what your interest level was. If you guys are interested, we can coordinate further.
What would be the point? Yeah, what's the reason?
I was not given an agenda. I was just asked if that was something you guys would be willing to consider. If you'd like me to go back and ask what the nature of the meeting is before we get your interest, I'd be happy to.
So, yeah, I'm open to talking. Next time we talk together, I'd like all the cameras on, so everybody can see all of our talking together, personally.
Yeah. And it'd be good to have some sort of agenda when we meet.
They gonna come here?
Those details.
Right.
On our turf? I'm kidding.
On our turf.
All right, thank you, yeah. All right, find out more and get back to us. All right, anything else, David?
No.
You're good,
not
okay.
tonight,
Commissioner Martin?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Have a good week.
Yep, thank you. Commissioner Hengel?
Nothing. I hope everybody has a good week, what's left of it.
Commissioner Wilson?
God bless and hope you all have a great week.
Same, hope everybody has a good week. I appreciate everybody coming tonight and their comments made. It was a good crowd. And I especially enjoyed the barber shop quartet this evening to entertain us. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor? Stand up? No, I'm kidding.
Aye.
I'm going to say aye.
Stand up, wave your hands.
All right.